Hey guys, I never done this before. Kamina the Koach here. So I've never been able to do a live before, so we'll see how this goes. I just thought I should have made myself more comfortable before I did this. I just thought that it's important to um, talk immediately about what I've learned about attachment styles, specifically mine, and kind of where I'm at in my own particular journey. So, welcome back to those of you who've been following. If you're new to the channel, my name is Kamina the Koach, and I have been working and living abroad for over a decade in 9 different countries. I'm currently in Baghdad, Iraq. This channel was originally dedicated to helping people get it together to get to working abroad. And then with COVID in March of 2020, I moved back to the United States and really aggressively started attending to my early childhood trauma, adoption trauma, and just healing old wounds so I could be more healthy and whole. In the last video I talked about how I didn't really I didn't even really think about studying attachment. I guess I was in such a crisis mode. I was so consumed with myself. Before I get going, though, I also want to say, and I think that this is important for very introverted people, I think it's important to say that I think that community can mean different things for different people. And especially for an introverted person versus an extroverted person, for an INFJ versus the other personality types. I think that community can be a small group of people. You do need more than one, I think. It's still something I'm learning about and growing with, but still something I'm learning and growing with. But I don't think you need a huge community, especially if it's just you and you're not raising children. I do think it takes a village to raise a child, but what do I really know about that since I don't have children? But I will say that I've been really, really hard on myself since I've been really, really hard on myself. Uh, yeah, I've been trying to get a job. I see you, DJ. I had been trying to get a job in Hong Kong for a while. They are an avoidant attachment style. So while they have a large community, he's just serving his community. He's not really co-regulating. So let's just talk about what I learned. So for attachment styles, secure obviously is the healthy one, the one you want to be. If you had a lot of early childhood trauma, then you could be an anxiously attached person, you could be an avoidantly attached person, or you could be an anxious avoidant person. An anxious avoidant or a disorganized avoidant person had a lot of obviously disorganization in their life when they were growing up, and there wasn't anything that was very stable in their lives when they were growing up. Sometimes when they acted out, a parent or a caregiver would move close to them. Sometimes when they acted out, the parent or caregiver would move away from them. So, hence the name disorganized. And no matter what style you are, it's unless you've done tons of work, or unless you came from a really good, secure upbringing, or you have a really secure personality type, none of it's really your fault. You're not really to blame or to credit really for any of it. It all has to do with where we began in early childhood. So, I am self-diagnosing as a recovering anxious avoidant. And so, some things, some aha moments for me were lying to yourself, gaslighting yourself, um, lying to the world because you've had to, because life has not put you in a position to have what the myth of normal, a normal life, right? So, for a long time, I didn't have much credit history, rental history, working history. So you kind of have to lie to the world to make that stuff up. And if you've been following the channel, you know that I'm leaning into radical honesty. So it makes sense. So, and then that kind of ties into why I'm saying that I am actually more healed than I was aware. I had this moment of like real shame in my last situation where I was like, oh my God, I'm not healed at all. I've done all this work and all this work for naught. And that's not exactly the case. I was to some degree unaware because I hadn't studied attachment and attachment wounds. And I just wasn't thinking about relationships. I wasn't trying to have a relationship, and I wasn't thinking about friendships and community circles and all that kind of stuff. So, again, so the lying to the world and then lying to yourself. I think some lies that I've told to myself are that I don't need a family or community. I think that that is a lie that I've told myself, that I'm okay forever being alone. I think that that's a lie that I've told myself. An adaptive lie, of course, that I've told myself, but still a lie. So so in covering a core wound in a way that I have intuitively begun to heal this is addressing that one of my boundaries and one of my values is honesty. And so it is very common for an anxious, avoidant person to find so reliability and honesty are big values for me and big boundaries for me. So apparently, obviously, they are big, big things for anxiously avoidant people. And at the first sign of lack of reliability and lack of honesty, even if they're very minute, the anxious avoidant is out. And it's interesting that on my own, I was able to identify these things. So I want to give myself credit in that. I also want to address that in the period of shaming myself as I was coming out of this friendship that I was in, and largely because the woman who gave birth to me had come into my life, I immediately didn't trust myself to take care of myself and reached out for therapy. And I feel that that the therapy is actually caused me to gaslight myself. And that is another thing that is really common for an anxious avoidant person, to have strong emotions that cause them to gaslight themselves. Also, something it makes me feel so much better to find this stuff out. So maybe if you're anxious avoidant, it might make you feel better to find this stuff out too. Something that I've addressed and that I'm working on is not feeling guilty when I'm sick. Also gaslighting myself when I'm sick, making myself feel like there's something wrong with me for being sick, like the pain that I'm feeling maybe is not real. And let's see if I can get more sunlight. And that's not gonna work. Trying to get better lighting here. So I until my mushroom journeys, I had really, really chronic pain. And obviously the pain was tied to the trauma that was trapped in my body. And when I would feel this pain, and for years I've had a bleeding ulcer since I was probably 14. And I had doctors tell me nobody would do the test to find the ulcers. And doctors told me for years that it couldn't be an ulcer. I was too young. And they told me it couldn't be arthritis. You're too young. And so, and also the woman who adopted me also used to tell me I was a hypochondriac. So all of this conditioning to end up gaslighting myself and maybe thinking that maybe there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe I've made it up in my head. Even as recently as coming here in January, I got really, really sick. I tested for COVID. Who knows if the test was accurate or not? But the test was actually negative. But I lost my smell for probably a good week, and I was sick. Maybe one of the 3 sickest times I've ever been in my life. And I remember thinking, even in that time of being really, really sick, um, "What's wrong with me?" And, "Am I really that sick?" And kind of feeling guilty for being craggy or cranky with other people, even though I was really, really sick. So, um, now I'm more aware of it. In the studying, now I'm more aware of it. So that. Also, we have a tendency to choose avoidant types. And I have, so I married um, probably a very disorganized, attached person. Because we present in different ways. And so initially he presented as he presented as very avoidant. And avoidant can initially show up as secure because they're not expressing their needs. So it feels safe for us to expect to get our needs met. So, in talking about needs, that's where I would like to talk about how I feel that I've healed a bit more. I am able to talk about what my needs are in a healthy way without being demanding or laying down an expectation. My primary love language is physical touch. Words of affirmation is my secondary. And I usually kind of let somebody know that I'm talking to know those things up front. Um, and also that it's a core thing. It's not something that will ever change. So I'm not able to deal with someone who can't meet me in that, or somebody that has to work really hard to meet me there. Um, that's just not going to be something that's going to be healthy and something that's going to work for me. And so I think that that is a sign. I know that that is a sign because I watched hours and hours and hours of anxious avoidant videos. So that is a sign that I am healing and growing. Another sign that I am healing and growing, although it is often not received well because I am still choosing largely unhealthy people, I believe. But so anger is also a thing for the anxious avoidant type. Um, a lot of that has to do with being gaslit when we were younger about our anger. When anytime we tried to speak out about how bad our situation was, we were told that we were overreacting and making it up in our head. And a lot of times it's not that we have an anger problem, it's that we have unexpressed anger. So we have faced something that makes us angry, and we have sat on it, sat on it, sat on it until it blows up. So, and so one of the techniques to address this is being able to acknowledge your anger and let the person know in a very controlled way. And that is letting your nervous system, letting your inner child know that you're taking care of them, for one, that you hear their needs and that you're going to take care of them. And it's also letting your body know that your emotions are not dangerous. I think that I know that there is a hidden voice in there that is saying it's not safe to feel. It's especially not safe to feel deep emotion and passionate emotion. And anger can be scary for us. So It's really important that even if it's just something that is seems like it's small, to learn how to express that to people. And it's important to have people in your life who it's okay to express that to. And being able to express it in a way like, hey, my anger is only like at a 2 right now, but I just wanted to let you know when X, Y, and Z happened, it made me feel like this. And so I actually am already doing that. And not always, not consistently, so I still have work to do, but I am actually able to do that. And um, I do find that a lot of times it's not met very well. I just had an incident where it wasn't met very well. It is what it is. Everybody has got their own stuff with them. That's why it's important to learn about how all these other attachment styles show up in the world. If you're dealing with another attachment style that's similar to yours, how you show up in the world and how they're likely to show up in the world. I totally get it. But just another sign for me that I am growing and largely healing. I think that it's dangerous to discover some maladaptive quality in yourself and immediately reach outside of yourself to fix it, at least for me. So, what happened for me was I was very disturbed, feeling a lot of shame, difference between shame and guilt. Shame is I am bad. Guilt is I did something bad. Well, the truth is I didn't really do anything bad. Not really. In the friendship that has ended, I didn't really do anything bad. Um, I didn't burst, like show extreme anger. I didn't manipulate or anything like that. I did show some deep emotion, but I did let this person know ahead of time, hey, I have a pretty deep abandonment wound that will likely always be triggered. Even though I've done a lot of work and I continue to do a lot of work, it doesn't make it okay for me to act badly, but just understand, there may be times when I'm highly activated when I am having my abandonment wound triggered. And still the person, because they are an avoidant type, my deep emotion during that moment of activation was terrifying for them and kind of disgusting. Avoidants really don't like um, feeling that other people can't regulate themselves. And so, also a sign of or a trait of the anxious avoidant type is that we withdraw to regulate ourselves, and we will cut the world off until we're more aware of our emotions and more regulated. So in this moment, I was having an traumatic flashback, an emotional flashback caused by this feeling of abandonment. And instead of cutting myself off, I actually reached out to a friend to co-regulate, which is also a sign of healing, of growth. Um, what else? So I feel like there were some energetic things going on. Like I said, the woman who gave birth to me had come back into my life. The person that I was talking to is pretty spiritual, and things started happening in their life when we would talk about it. And I could tell that there was some real energy involved there. And so I couldn't really put my finger on what was going on energetically in the universe and with spirit. So I reached out to my energy worker, my light worker. And so we had a session last night. Dun, 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 dun. So I am actually really close to where the earthquake in Syria and Turkey happened, really, really close. And the best that we can come up with is that during the earthquake, there was a fracture in me that allowed some of the souls that passed and some souls that were released, dislodged from the earth, to seek refuge inside of me. Who knew? I didn't. And the reason I haven't worked with my light worker in a while is similar to the idea that doctors are the worst patients. Energy workers often the worst patients too. After I reached a certain level of elevation, I was like, I should be able to do this myself. But we all have a set of skills. And one doctor may be a heart doctor, and the other doctor is an eye doctor, and the eye doctor can't treat the heart, and the heart doctor can't treat the eyes. I had some shame surrounding that too, and it was really nice to have her acknowledge it and validate it, and be able to gather those souls up that had taken refuge in my body, and bless them, and go ahead and send them on through the light, and that felt really good. Felt really good. Um, what else? Also, um, looking at, so we talked about a sorrow that I was feeling that was representing as a tightness in my heart, and was able to regress to a past life where, so I've always known, not maybe not always, we've been able to uncover together that I was part of the original um, group of beings that brought life, that brings life, not just here, but to other places. I won't get too deep into that. And so when we first came to Earth, the first Atlantis, I came with a group with my soul tribe and a part of another soul tribe, and we came under attack. And there were only 30 to 50 of us left, and I had to do what I could to save them, to save us. As she talked about it, I felt the grief and the tightness in my chest grow. And she was actually able to locate this part of me, this past life that needed to be integrated into me, and bring it into the healing. When she found me protecting my soul tribe in the cliffs somewhere, probably close to where I'm at here in Iraq. And I wouldn't come. She was trying to get me to come, and I wouldn't come, and I started crying. I was like, she was like, "You won't come." I said, "I can't leave." And we said it at the same time. I couldn't leave them. I couldn't leave them there. And it's so it, it's hard to explain. It's like the mushroom. It's really hard to explain the beautiful emotion surrounding what the feeling that this caused. So at the time there was crying, and not hysterics, but just real, like I just want them to be safe and to be sent back, and I can't go until they go. And we were able to bless them and send them back to our home, and the other group back to their home. And then as she brought me back to myself, so when she acknowledged that, when she identified that my part of me was somewhere else, I was actually scared. And I said, "Are we safe? Like, I don't think that we should go there. I don't think you should go there." And she said, "We're safe. Her angels were guarding us." She said, "You stay, I'll go." And she found me, and I didn't want to come, and so we sent the souls, the beings back, because I had been there protecting them. And coming back to myself was hard. I was still stuck in the fight mode, and I was very confused. It was very interesting. And she's able to do work on her end to be able to integrate and heal that life that needed to come back to me. And the only way to describe it is I felt myself come back into my body, and that there was some space in between this other self and me, and I could feel it. And whatever she was doing on her end caused these two selves to eventually come together. And there it wasn't pleasant, by the way. And there was just eventually this it was amazing. So once we got that done, she tunes in, she asks, how do I feel? And I still have sorrow now. So I feel like more like myself, and I'm able to identify that there is sorrow here that is mine. And so that is tied to the woman who gave birth to me. And so big stuff. And so because there was so much going on energetically, and in my life in universal, um, I wasn't sure that when she came back, if I was supposed to heal or learn or grow from this, or if I needed to release it. And that uncertainty was really frustrating for me. So I was able to um, discuss it with my light worker. And so she actually said it. She was like, so I see your mother and how disorganized she is, and how what an emotional mess she is, and how this darkness that's been kind of following me, trying to um, impede me from my journey because I'm so powerful, because there are people that I need to lead home. That this darkness, because it hasn't been able to get a hold of me in a long time, attached onto her. And it wasn't really her that really wanted me, it's them coming to me through her, which really resonated. And when she said that, and I'm thankful not to see it now, I'm thankful for the extradition of this vision. But when she said it, I actually saw her face kind of turn like a kind of like a poltergeist and come out at me. It was terrifying, horrible. And so once we identified that and kind of coming to the agreement that there's nothing good that can come of us reconnecting, and that there's nothing more to say. I don't hold any resentment regarding being relinquished. I didn't need to be raised by this woman. I I had a purpose. I had to come through her. I had to be adopted by the people that I was adopted by because I had a mission. And um, I don't hold any resentment for that. Um, I had to check in with myself to see if I really meant that. Race and racism. Now, there's a place. There's a place to talk about, some residual anger. But then, even then, you don't know what you don't know, and um, you're able to forgive ignorance. Willful ignorance is one thing, but just ignorance, you know. So yeah, I forgive her. I am not the answer to her healing journey. I think that she's probably not anywhere near where she needs to be with her soul, that she will have to probably do many more passes at this before she achieves the level of elevation that she needs to achieve. But that's not my responsibility. And so we made sure that there were no cords. Um, we put some protection and kind of sealed off those boundaries. And I feel really good about that. Checking in with my body and just to make sure it's true. And it is. I feel really good about that. Um, what else? Um, Also, the person that I was talking with, while we didn't really have an emotional bond, we did have a bit of a spiritual bond. Again, because we would have these talks and things would happen. And the more we talked, the more and more powerful it became. And it was really scary to him because he's not ready to feel because he hasn't been doing the work. So he's not really ready to feel. And he was just outright like, I'm going to leave the past in the past. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Um, and I definitely feel like it was our purpose to regret the interaction at all. I hope that he doesn't, but he probably does. Um, because I stirred up some emotions in him. But I told him right from the beginning that I felt like I was going to cause an existential crisis. And it's interesting how I knew right from the beginning. So, anyway, so I wanted her to check in to make sure that there were no cords connecting us because I don't feel any emotional attachment, but I do keep thinking about him. And I was hoping that I didn't do any damage and that I just kind of needed the acknowledgement that it was supposed to happen. And apparently, we've kind of done that over several lives where I promised I would come back and I would try. And each time, the soul hasn't been ready. And I can tell he really wants to go home, but doesn't really know the work to do to get the soul to home. And that's sad. I feel bad because I know that after this iteration, that my soul is going home. I'm so excited about that. So I tried. She checked in. She was like, "What are you feeling?" And I could feel it. I could feel this. And she named it before I could tell her where it was. And so there's kind of like this portal here that had been opened up inadvertently, probably in that blood moon eclipse, November of 2022. And that's how stuff had been kind of filtering in. But so we had a couple of cords attached to us, nothing malicious or malignant. But we went ahead and cut those cords and sent them back to him and filled me back up with my light force, opened up my Kundalini, took light into my Kundalini, and then sent light out around me. And even with my eyes closed, I could feel the room light up. So, feels so much better. Um, all of that allowed me to kind of address situation with a new person who had come into my life, kind of just addressing it before it went too far. Um, Again, an anxious attachment trait. We want connection. In fact, we feel that our lives depend on connection because when we were children, they did, but connection's not safe. So I actually knew intuitively right from the first time that we connected that it wasn't a safe connection. But intuitively, not intuitively, I latched onto it because I was severing another tie. So I latched onto the connection because baby me said we can't we need this connection. So I hadn't taken the time to tell her that I've got you. You don't need this connection. And we have a little small tribe that's got you too. And so I had allowed this person in who the connection doesn't really serve either of us. And the only things that I am aware of that we have in common are being very concerned about people and being adoptees. And that's not enough to have a relationship. And being on the opposite sides of the world from each other, being from different countries, sharing different racial backgrounds, um, I acknowledge and I wasn't sure, but so again, kind of gaslighting myself, he reached out because he was attracted physically and attracted to my life. Much respect. I get it. I'm flattered. And I kind of leaned into that, and there was some limerence around that. But after my session, I wasn't able to remain in limerence anymore. I'm not able to story tell anymore. Like that capability, at least for right now, feels like it's completely gone. And I can't lie to myself about this situation. We had made an agreement to speak today. He's very, very busy. And he's like, oh, can we speak tomorrow? I've already made commitments for tomorrow. And I'm like, and we had like what felt like a small like misunderstanding yesterday. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to serve me. I'm like, reliability is a huge thing for me. Having enough time is a huge thing for me. I think that I'm just going to go ahead and, part ways now. I tried to explain myself as best as I could and ended up kind of getting gaslit again. Having this person come back and tell me what I'm feeling, which activates my anger. So then I try to address, like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but now I'm feeling angry and kind of got gaslit even more. So, and then was met with so like I said, if you want to talk tomorrow and I still want to be your friend after I've said twice that I don't want to be your friend. Um, I'm glad that I expressed my anger because, again, like I said, unexpressed anger is dangerous. It causes a buildup and it causes explosion. So I'm thankful that I expressed my anger. I'm thankful that I held my ground. And then I don't like to block people anymore. I don't like to be that person. I like to just be able to state my case and walk away. However, for whatever is going on inside of him, he kept coming back, and with each iteration, it felt more disorganized, for lack of a better word, because I probably activated something inside of him. So we're coming to a place where the exchange is not going to be healthy anymore. So I just ended up blocking. So I'm not sorry for that interaction either. I think the universe sent this person at exactly the right time because it was definitely time to cut ties with the other person before we could physically be in each other's presence to cause any more kind of bonding, to create any more kinds of cords. So it definitely needed to happen. It served a really good purpose, and I'm not sorry it happened. Um, and I'm learning how not to say sorry when I've not done anything wrong, and to really examine closely, like, have I done something wrong? Also, another thing, people often don't apologize when they felt shame because they feel like feeling the shame was penance enough. So they often don't apologize. But I've been good for a while apologizing when I've done something wrong. And I don't think in either situation that I've really done anything wrong. Definitely not with the person who gave birth to me. I don't think I've done anything wrong. I've been honest and forthright. I am being honest because I know that she will see this. I'm not interested in a relationship with you. I don't hold any anger or malice towards you. I'm just not interested in a relationship. To the two other people that I had connection with, two gentlemen, same thing. I don't hold any malice. In fact, nothing but love for the both of them. I'm just not interested in relationship. I'm just not. Um, and that's it. I just needed to get this out because I don't really have anyone. I have friends in my life, but I don't really have anyone that I can share spiritual stuff with. And then if I get really deep into the psychology stuff, then there's not really anyone who's really tuning in. So I needed to get it out. I needed to share. I know that it will be meaningful to the one or two people who needed to hear this. If you are working on healing, don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking that you're not healing. If you are genuinely doing the work, you are healing. You are changing. You are worthy. You are not worthless. When you catch yourself falling into shame, forgive yourself. Remind yourself that you're worthy and that you're loved. Treat yourself like you would that small child. Vision indefinitely. So thank you for sharing this journey with me. This is my first live. I don't know if I will go live again, but it was very, very meaningful for me to share this journey with you. I'm almost positive that you can tell that I'm glowing in a different way than I was in my last two videos. I feel like I'm lit up from the inside out. I feel really good. Um, am I done with the work? That'll never be the case. Even once this body passes on, I'll always be working. That's just the nature of my soul. But I do know that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, working towards the exact goals that I need to be working towards. I am okay. You are okay. Um, and until next time, sending you love, light, peace, and joy, all you beautiful people. Until next time, I am Kamina the Koach, and I'm out. Peace.